relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. That works. And so luckily we have, and so that makes all the difference. Because if we were at cross purposes, you know, either I would leave or it just would be miserable, you know. And so that was really important. And so those dynamics in a lot of nonprofits are kind of make or break.
So is the board really active in the decision making that goes on here, or do they more or less trust you to maybe come up with the ideas, or do they provide some ideas? I'm just kind of trying to gauge the level of interaction with the board. 'Cause like you mentioned, you'll see boards that disagree with the CEO. You'll see boards that really are kind of hands off, and they only just pop their head in for a major issue, just kind of go, let's do this.
Right.
Just kind of the level of interaction of the board.
Yeah. So it's been a progression. So when I came in 5 years ago, I mean the founding board. You know, a critical mass of the founding board are still involved. And they were, in the early days, so the organization was founded in 2006, so there was sort of a long startup phase. And they would, you know, sit around their like kitchen tables over boxes of pizza and like figure stuff out. And, you know, so part of our model is mentoring or coaching the scholars, community college scholars, and they were the first mentors. You know, like they were doing the work, either beside the staff, there was tiny staff, or in lieu of staff, because it was such a small operation.
They were the administrative function and the people that actually took action
and also raised the money and sort of did everything. So they hired other EDs, and none of whom worked for like various reasons. I think the board was too involved and were micromanaging maybe too much, and also the EDs, like they just hadn't found the right person who could gain their confidence and their trust. So so my first, 18 months was, I understood like, yes, I definitely need to build relationships with the staff. I need to, deeply understand the program. I need to raise a bunch of money, but the first thing I have to worry about is my relationships with the board, because everything flows from that. Like I don't have a leg to stand on if I'm not doing that. So I prioritized that, and then, prove myself. Like I realized that I needed to prove myself to them, and one of the ways to prove myself was to raise money, because that's again what we're all focused on. And sort of got to a point where I was then able to sort of say like, okay, like you guys need to move out of my space and into your space. And so there were then some conversations where I had to say like, we may disagree on things, but if I have board members calling me about that they disagreed with the font size of a news blast that we just sent out, like that's not what you guys should be doing. Like that's not productive. And that's just a waste of all of our time. And so given that there's so many hours, there's a finite amount of time. If you guys are choosing to spend the time on that kind of thing, then we're not going to be able to spend the time on the bigger issues. And that's what you guys should be doing. And we're just going to have to agree to disagree on some things, like the font size. So I had to have a conversation with my board chair of like, you and I should never be talking about the font size of anything, ever. That if we are, we're not doing our jobs, because that's not what we should be talking about. And he was super receptive to that, but I had to sort of break some of those, bad habits, because they were just like, well, we've always just had to jump in and do things because other people weren't doing it. So now I've got them to, I think where they should be, and so thinking through and consulting with me on long-term strategic issues, thinking about helping me stay out ahead of like things that could start to go off the rails, and things that we're going to need to be thinking about, and investments that we're going to need to be making, versus, and then leaving the program and the operations and everything else to us, and they perform a governance function, right? So they do review the budget in great detail. They review the audit in great detail. As they should. We have checks and balances in place, so like any check over $5,000 for anything has to be like co-signed by the founder.
Oh, nice.
You could argue that maybe $10,000 is the right level, whatever, but like I can't just willy-nilly spend money. And so that's good, because I shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
So